There is truly nothing quite like the immediacy of the impact you feel when you get to hand a child back to their teary-eyed, gratitude-filled parent after they've had a few hours of surgery. And we have gotten to do this over 9,000 times at Alliance for Smiles. We give cleft lip and palate surgeries to children in underserved areas of the world, and we also train and equip the local medical teams who serve them so they don't need us to come back to do it. The future is pretty bleak for children without surgery. If you're not familiar with cleft, a cleft is a split. So here's a cleft lip, and you can imagine as a baby, Esperanza can't even form suction to breastfeed. So babies with cleft lips are often very malnourished. And if you can imagine a split like this across the entire roof of the mouth that goes up into the nasal passage, I'm sure you can imagine how difficult it is to do the simplest things, like eat, drink, speak. You can see Esperanza after her surgery, and you can tell that this child's experience of the world and how she's treated is completely different. Every 3 minutes, there's a child born with a cleft lip or palate. But in 2 decades of international aid work, before working for Alliance for Smiles, I never saw a single one. How could that be? Let me share a quick story that will help illustrate why. On a recent medical mission to Hawassa, Ethiopia, our team noticed something strange. On an average mission, half of the kids we see have cleft lips. The other half have cleft palates. But in Hawassa, there were a lot of cleft lips and almost no palates. Very strange. So our surgeon was very curious. Why? Was this a genetic anomaly, something in the environment? So he asked the local Ethiopian team. One of them shifted uncomfortably and said, surgeries are just not available here. Children with a cleft lip would have such a difficult life. So children with this condition are not usually allowed to survive. In fact, 1 in 10 children with a cleft condition in underserved areas is killed by their own family or their own community in their infancy. It's often seen as a curse, or there's no hope of ever getting surgery. It's especially heartbreaking when you know these kids are held out of school if they survive, they're hidden away, they're bullied, abused, and abandoned. There are actually 5 billion people in the world who lack access to safe and affordable surgeries right now. Every 2 seconds, someone dies because of that lack. That means there are 17 million people in the world dying needlessly every year. That's huge, right? That's heavy. And maybe you're wondering what these dire statistics and this devastating story from rural Ethiopia have to do with my beautiful day to breathe in Seacliff, San Francisco. What a day to breathe reminded me is that sometimes the most urgent thing we can do is pause and not allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by these statistics and stories. It allows you to reground in your why. Why are you doing this? What is it that you want to do with your one wild and precious life? We each just get one. My answer to that question is always the same. In my personal life, in my professional life, I want to do good, I want to do it well, and I need to do it now. I've shared with you how we're doing that now through Alliance for Smiles, which is an amazing nonprofit. But maybe global surgery is not your calling. I imagine there's a lot of passions and purposes here in this room. So I want to step back from Alliance for Smiles and share some other examples from both the for-profit and nonprofit world, and just from life itself. So before I started working with Alliance for Smiles, I did a brief stint of helping some tech companies look at how their business models might support doing good in the world. One of them was the rideshare company Lyft. And around the time that I started at Lyft, racial tensions were on the rise in our country. and it was almost Black History Month. So I had an idea of trying to build empathy, awareness, and support for Black-owned businesses and Black history museums by giving free rides. I was very quickly informed that this was not in the annual budget or the business plan, which I learned is a problem. But because I was so passionate about it, they very sweetly didn't say no. They just said, if you can do this in your own spare time with absolutely no resources, go for it. So in my almost non-existent spare time, I reached out to the local marketing managers of every Lyft team across the United States and Canada. They are amazing, and they signed on to help out. Not only that, but they put their own marketing budgets in to make it happen. So there were the resources. And by what I can only call a karmic stroke of luck, the day I went to beg someone from the media and PR team to help me launch this to the press, because I had no idea how, it was the second day on the job of a very enthusiastic angel named Daniel from New York. He was there for orientation, and he volunteered. On February 6, 2019, we launched our first ever for-profit social impact campaign. Within hours, he said it had gone viral. Drivers and passengers were so excited to take part in it. But within 48 hours, it was featured in Oprah Magazine, USA Today, People Magazine, CBS, NBC, over 150 media publications. It took all of those people, passengers, drivers, journalists, celebrities, marketing managers, sweet Daniel who helped, to show that businesses can do great good with whatever business, service, or product that they have. And that not only that, but doing good can be very good for business. So those are examples of how to do good in the nonprofit and the for-profit world with Alliance for Smiles and Lyft. But we have to be careful. We have to think about impact and sustainability to make sure that we're doing it well. Speaking of wells, did you know that about 60% of the charity-built wells in Africa are broken down and completely useless? Because foreign expats and experts come in, they build those wells with foreign products and materials. They don't teach local communities how to fix the wells themselves, and they don't give them access to the materials to do it. And the for-profit companies that make you feel good because every time you buy something from them, like a pair of socks or a pair of shoes, and they'll give one away to someone in need somewhere in the world, they often do more harm than good by hurting local economies. They drop one-time massive shipments into a village, so if anyone was making that product locally, they're out of business, and now that community is dependent on foreign aid for that product. I'm not trying to throw shade at those organizations. I think their hearts and their intentions are in a really beautiful place, but you do have to think about impact and sustainability. We can get some great examples of that from organizations that are doing good well, like Solar Sister. Solar Sister is training and supporting women in Africa to get their own products out, clean energy products, to rural communities. These ladies sell solar products and clean cook stoves so that communities are not cutting down trees or burning and breathing in dangerous kerosene. They're able to access clean energy. They're also helping the environment by protecting the trees, not burning carbon. And they're improving safety and public health, all while building their own local economy and women's role in it. And this one is very near and dear to my heart. This is Nuru International's, their pilot project in rural Kenya, where I lived and worked before I moved here to San Francisco. Nuru comprehensively addresses the root causes of extreme poverty, but while they're doing it, they train local leaders to lead and scale those programs, and they build their own local businesses to sustain the programs. So they're helping communities build their own pathways out of poverty without creating dependency on foreign experts or foreign aid. And as a for-profit example, here in San Francisco, there's a tech company called Twilio. They have an entire branch of their business that is completely devoted to supporting nonprofits and advancing social good. On top of that, right before I joined Alliance for Smiles, I helped them design and launch their We Pledge program, where they empower and match the good that their entire workforce around the world is doing in giving money, time, and equity to create the change that they want to see in the world. Since we launched We Pledge in 2020, 39 companies, in fact, have signed on, including Zoom, Okta, and Headspace. When we put our hearts and our heads together, we make businesses kinder and charities wiser. We think about sustainability and impact. We can lead the way in doing good well. Perhaps it's not in your budget or your bandwidth or your company's portfolio to launch an international campaign or to found your own company to do good. That's okay. When I, many moons ago, resettled 11,000 Burundian refugees to the United States, it was the everyday actions of heroes and neighbors that welcomed them into their communities, that brought them furniture and appliances and blankets, that offered them jobs at local restaurants and factories, and perhaps most importantly, extended kindness and friendship. Acts don't have to be big or small to have the biggest meaning and the greatest impact. But we need to take those actions now. I'm actually in a class called Year to Live. I just met some of my classmates who are here today. A Year to Live asks us to reflect on the question, if you only had 1 year left to live, if this was all the time that you had left, what would you be doing differently right now? Because the truth is that none of us know how long we have. Some of us in this room, we might be in our last year. We might be in our final weeks. These might be our last hours, whether we know it or not. Reflecting on this question is not meant to scare us, but to ground us in the present, to fill us with compassion, and to urge us to take action. Just last week, I took my own very tiny action when I learned that businesses I was spending my money with weren't aligned with my values. I really didn't want to do it. I'll be honest. I thought, will it make a difference? Can it wait? And then I thought about my heroes who showed me that simple acts in the right moment, taking action now, not getting up from that bus seat, can change the entire course of history. Our actions matter and we need to do them now. So, what businesses with what values will you spend your dollars with today? What charities can count on your time or your support? What is it that you want to see in the world that you live in? How will you create change, whether through your work or through your personal life? What is it that you want to do with your one sweet, wild, precious life? Whatever your answer to that, I hope you'll do it now. Because this moment, and what we do with it is all we really have. And my wish for all of you is that you will give yourselves a day to breathe, or even a moment, if you don't have a day. Reground yourself in your why. Reflect on this question. And if you're inspired by these incredible speakers and our hosts here today, I hope that you will take what you've learned and go out, do good, please do it well, and do it now.